It's done. The experiment is already a failure. What the Cleveland Browns are experiencing isn't just a friendly quarterback competition, it's a full-scale civil war that just exploded on live television. The first public salvo, a blast echoing through Berea Park, was fired by Tony Grossi, the venerable godfather of Cleveland sports media. This is a man whose words carry the weight of a franchise, and he just dropped a nuclear bomb on the Browns' most critical position. Grossi looked straight into the camera and called the starting quarterback, Dillon Gabriel, a loser in his battle against the rookie sensation, Shedeur Sanders. Let that word settle. Loser. He didn't use euphemisms like struggling or under pressure. He chose the single most brutal, career-defining word in the high-stakes world of the NFL. The truly terrifying part is that he might not be wrong. The coaches are frantically trying to project an illusion of calm, but the real leaders in that locker room have already chosen sides. Star wide receiver Jerry Jeudy is openly praising Shedeur. Myles Garrett, the absolute soul and alpha of the defense, is reporting on Shedeur's pre-dawn grind in the coach's office. And when head coach Kevin Stefanski is pressed on the issue, his reactions betray a level of pure, unadulterated panic. The subtle whispers have become a thunderous roar. The pressure has reached a suffocating intensity. This war isn't about arm talent or playbook knowledge anymore. It's about who has earned the heart of the team. Right now, that heart has been pledged to Shedeur Sanders. Dillon Gabriel is, for all intents and purposes, a dead man walking, and the entire city is simply waiting for the inevitable moment the floor collapses beneath him. The media execution and the countdown clock. To truly grasp the magnitude of the fragile piece that Grossi just shattered, you must understand his standing. Tony Grossi is not a shock jock or a hot take artist chasing clicks. He is an institution. He has covered the Browns for decades, possessing deep, unparalleled sources across the entire organization. The front office, the coaching staff, the locker room, and the fan base. When Grossi speaks, he is often articulating the collective, unspoken truth of the franchise. His comment was not just a passing opinion, it was a declaration of war and a statement of fact that reflects a brutal internal assessment. He starkly laid out the grim reality of Gabriel's predicament, stating plainly that Gabriel is probably a loser in this for that reason, because now Shedeur is right on his heels and his huge contingent of fans. I mean, really process the gravity of that statement. An undisputed organizational insider, a man considered the pulse of the team, just labeled their named QB1 a loser before he has even had a chance to truly fail on the field. This wasn't a slip. It was a calculated tactical statement designed to reflect a brutal, unavoidable truth. The internal battle is already lost, and Gabriel is simply the last one to be informed of his defeat. Grossi expertly exposed the fact that this situation has moved beyond mere on-field performance. It's now dominated by perception, overwhelming momentum, and the sheer, undeniable star power that Shedeur Sanders brought into the building the second he was drafted. Gabriel is now playing a two-front war, battling not just the 11 men on the opposing defense, but simultaneously fighting against the ghost of Shedeur, a ghost that is growing more real and infinitely more powerful than the starter himself with every passing day. But Grossi didn't ease up. He twisted the knife with a chillingly precise prophecy, a vision of the immediate future that should send a shiver down the spine of every person associated with the Browns. He stated with stark certainty, "We're going to hear chants for Shedeur as soon as he throws an incompletion, and he hasn't even thrown an interception yet." Analyze the psychological warfare embedded in that prediction. He is not suggesting the fans will turn on Gabriel after a truly bad game, or a crushing late-game turnover. Grossi is asserting that the leash is so short, the collective patience so utterly non-existent, that a single incomplete pass, the most common and mundane failure in football, will be the precise trigger for an entire stadium-wide mutiny. The fans in Cleveland are not just passively hoping for Shedeur, they are actively and impatiently waiting for Dillon Gabriel to make the smallest, most justifiable mistake so they can loudly, publicly, and repeatedly demand the era of the rookie begins. Dillon Gabriel is being deliberately set up to fail in the most public and humiliating manner imaginable. He will be forced to step onto that field knowing that a massive, significant portion of his own home crowd is actively rooting against his success. They are not hoping he triumphs. They want him to stumble just once so they can loudly usher in the man they believe is the true inevitable savior. This transcends mere pressure. It is a psychological torture chamber, and Tony Grossi just unlatched the door for the entire world to witness the spectacle. This single statement has effectively armed the fan base, validated their underlying impatience, and started the countdown clock on Gabriel's time in Cleveland. The corrosive fallout from these remarks cannot be overstated. It gives a powerful, credible voice to the silent, creeping doubts that have been metastasizing within the organization. It completely legitimizes the whispers that have been circulating in the locker room. And it puts Coach Stefanski in an utterly impossible position. How can a head coach stand in front of his players and preach unshakable confidence in his starting quarterback when the most respected and authoritative media figure in the city has just publicly declared that quarterback a loser and graphically predicted his humiliating public execution at the hands of the very fans he's supposed to lead? The coach's authority is irreparably damaged. The narrative has been set in stone. Tony Grossi did not just report on this story, he became the catalyst for the story, and in doing so, he has single-handedly and dramatically accelerated the timeline for Shedeur Sanders' ascension to the throne. The question is no longer if Dillon Gabriel will be benched. Thanks to Grossi, the question is now a panicked when, and whether Gabriel can even survive the next home game before the walls cave in completely. The quiet coup inside the fractured locker room. If Tony Grossi's public execution of Dillon Gabriel's tenure was shocking, wait until you pull back the curtain and see the seismic shift happening inside the Browns locker room itself. Grossi may have lit the match, but the kindling for this franchise-engulfing inferno was laid by the most powerful, respected, and influential players on the team. This is not a manufactured, media-driven narrative. It is a genuine transfer of power and a fundamental change in loyalty happening right under the coach's nose. The true leaders of the team, the guys whose voices carry the most absolute weight, have already crowned their new king, and his name is Shedeur Sanders. The first domino to fall was the face of the franchise, the defensive titan, the undisputed alpha male of the entire organization, Myles Garrett. Garrett is known to be a man who is economical with his words. He does not engage in political games or waste time on pointless pleasantries. When he speaks, it is always with clear purpose and unwavering authority. So, when he was asked about the rookie quarterback, he did not offer a generic throwaway line that protects the starter. Instead, he gave a detailed, specific, and incredibly telling endorsement that was a thinly veiled but clear message to everyone from management to coaches to his teammates. Garrett's specific quote is crucial. You know, Coach's office is easily seen when you walk in the building, and you know, almost every morning you see him in there talking through plays, talking through schemes with Coach, making sure that he's ready for, you know, his moment when he gets called up. And I appreciate that level of maturity and attention to detail. We must dissect this quote like it's a piece of critical evidence. First, Garrett makes a precise point of saying he sees Shedeur in the coach's office almost every morning. This isn't a one-off attempt at public relations. It is a habit, a relentless, established routine, a work ethic that the best player on the entire team has personally witnessed and affirmed day after day. He is painting a clear picture of a young man who is demonstrably outworking everyone else. A player who is preparing not like an insurance policy or a backup, but like the unquestioned starter. Second, he specifies that Shedeur is in there preparing for his moment when he gets called up. Notice the stark, deliberate language. Not if he gets called up, but when. In the mind of Myles Garrett, Shedeur's ascension is not a hopeful possibility. It is a foregone conclusion, an inevitability that the team simply needs to wait for. Finally, he praises the rookie's maturity and attention to detail. These are not the complimentary, patronizing words you use to describe a flash-in-the-pan rookie. These are the words of respect and professional affirmation that you reserve for a proven veteran, a true professional, a leader. This entire quote is a masterclass in internal political maneuvering. Without ever once having to mention Dillon Gabriel's name, Myles Garrett just sent a message to the entire world about who he truly believes in. He drew a definitive line in the sand. On one side, you have the designated, politically chosen starter. On the other, you have the rookie who is relentlessly putting in the work, earning the respect, and already acting with the gravitas of a franchise quarterback before he has taken a single meaningful snap. When the captain of your defense, a perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate, offers this kind of glowing, detail-specific review of your backup quarterback, it is not merely praise. It is a powerful endorsement. It is the locker room sending a clear smoke signal to the front office. We have found the man we want to follow. The rebellion, however, does not stop on the defensive side of the ball. It has completely bled into the offense, into the very huddle that Dillon Gabriel is expected to command. Enter Jerry Jeudy, one of the team's top wide receivers, a player whose entire success and salary is directly tied to the performance and confidence of his quarterback. When Jeudy was asked about Shedeur, he mirrored Garrett's sentiment almost perfectly, forming a devastating 1-2 punch of veteran support. Jeudy stated that Shedeur has done a great job, just understanding the plays. Doing whatever the coach asked for, the great job. Just, being a pro and, doing what you need to do to be able to, once you get a chance, to take advantage of that. Again, one must read beneath the surface. The phrase being a pro is code language. It is a sign of deep professional respect that must be earned in an unforgiving NFL locker room. Rookies are often seen as talented kids who need to learn the basic ropes of the business. By calling Shedeur a pro, Jeudy is elevating him instantly, putting him on the same unquestioned level as the established, respected veterans. But the most damning element of his statement once again is the conclusion on doing what you need to do to be able to, once you get a chance, to take advantage of that. Just like Garrett, Jeudy speaks of Shedeur's opportunity not as a potential hypothetical, but as a hard certainty. The opportunity is coming. The most influential players on the team know it's coming. They are actively preparing for it, and by publicly and repeatedly praising Shedeur's relentless work and professional readiness, they are subtly, or perhaps not so subtly, questioning the long-term viability and even the present readiness of the current designated starter. Contemplate the corrosive, soul-crushing effect this dynamic must have on Dillon Gabriel. He must walk into that locker room, look his teammates in the eye, and try to lead them, all while knowing that the team's defensive captain and one of his top offensive weapons are on record openly hyping up and praising the man who is waiting, poised to take his job. It is an impossible situation to overcome. The locker room has fractured, and a powerful, respected alliance has formed around Shedeur Sanders, an alliance built on the genuine respect he has earned through his unshakable work ethic and professional maturity. Myles Garrett and Jerry Jeudy are not just complimenting a talented rookie, they are leading a quiet coup. They are signaling to every single person in the organization that the future is now, and they are ready and willing to follow Shedeur into battle. The coaches may have written the depth chart in permanent ink, but the players have already decisively rewritten it in their own hearts. The tale of two quarterbacks, destiny versus survival. To fully comprehend the depth of the catastrophe unfolding in Cleveland, one must examine the two profoundly different men standing at the absolute center of this storm. This is a classic tale of two quarterbacks, a volatile collision of two completely contrasting professional realities. On one side stands Dillon Gabriel, a quarterback trapped in a psychological prison not of his own making, a haunted man who is acutely aware he is living on borrowed time. On the other is Shedeur Sanders, the perceived chosen one, a player who was born, bred, and groomed for this exact high-pressure moment, a leader who is already commanding an army of believers before he has even been named the general. Let's first address the tragic, isolated figure in this drama, Dillon Gabriel. He was initially brought in to be a competent, stabilizing force, a reliable bridge to the team's future, and maybe, just maybe, an outside possibility for the long-term answer. He arrived with a solid collegiate resume and the presumed backing of the coaching staff. But the moment the Browns made the fateful decision to draft Shedeur Sanders, Gabriel's ultimate fate was sealed. He was instantly relegated to a placeholder, a temporary rapidly expiring solution whose official expiration date began ticking down with every single impressive practice rep the rookie put on film. Now, he finds himself on a complete island, entirely isolated. The media, expertly led by Tony Grossi, has already labeled him a loser. The fans, according to that same media, are impatiently waiting to cannibalize him at the first sign of a mistake. And his own teammates, the bedrock leaders of the franchise, like Myles Garrett and Jerry Jeudy, are publicly and enthusiastically serenading his replacement. Consider the superhuman mental fortitude it must take to operate under those corrosive, demoralizing conditions. Every single pass, every decision in the pocket, every second of practice is being meticulously scrutinized, not just by the opposing team's scouts, but by every single person on his own side. He is no longer simply playing football, he is in a perpetual state of auditioning for a job that he supposedly already won. The crushing pressure is truly unimaginable, a psychological weight that would break the strongest of men, and the initial cracks in his foundation are starting to show. In a recent interview, Gabriel attempted to explain his state of readiness with a telling, almost peculiar analogy. He said, "I got a text from a good buddy of mine, and he sent me a picture of a fire station. The doors are open, garage doors are open, like things are ready to go, and like they're just waiting on that phone call to like respond surgically." He intended this analogy to convey that he was prepared, focused, and ready to go at a moment's notice. But in the volatile context of this brewing war, it sounds tragically ironic. He sees himself waiting for the emergency call, ready to respond. But the harsh reality is that the entire city is about to collectively call 911 on him. The fire he's supposed to be putting out is the one violently engulfing his own professional career. A fire that was, ironically, started by the very arrival of Shedeur Sanders. He views himself as the first responder, but to everyone else, he is merely the guy standing idly in the old fire station while the new state-of-the-art high-tech engine, Shedeur, is being polished, prepped, and fueled for the real emergency. Now, we shift our attention to the other side of this critical coin, Shedeur Sanders. If Dillon Gabriel is the haunted quarterback trying to survive, Shedeur is the one who was born to hunt and dominate. This is not just another talented, hyped-up rookie. This is American football royalty. He is the son of Deion Primetime Sanders, a Pro Football Hall of Famer, a legitimate cultural icon, and one of the most charismatic, confident, and unapologetic athletes in the entire history of sports. Shedeur did not merely grow up around the game. He was forged in its brightest, most intense spotlight. For him, pressure is not a concept. It is his natural, inherited habitat. From his transformative time at Jackson State, where he completely revitalized an HBCU program under his father's bold leadership, to his electrifying, headline-grabbing season at Colorado, where he instantly became the indisputable face of college football, Shedeur has never once shrunk from the biggest moment. He carries himself with an unmistakable, quiet confidence, a natural swagger that is not arrogant or manufactured, but profoundly earned. It is what players in the locker room refer to as the it factor. It is a quality that cannot be taught, cannot be coached, and cannot be bought. You either inherently have it or you don't, and Shedeur Sanders has it in overwhelming spades. This inherent it factor is the key reason why hardened veterans like Myles Garrett and Jerry Jeudy are so powerfully drawn to him. They see beyond the hype, the viral videos, and the famous last name. They recognize and respect the unwavering code his father instilled in him from birth. An absolute, unshakable work ethic and a profound understanding that respect is never given. It must be relentlessly commanded and demanded. This is precisely why he is the one showing up at the facility before anyone else, often before the sun rises. This is precisely why he is the one spending his crucial morning time in the coach's office. He is not waiting patiently for his turn to be handed to him. He is actively, relentlessly taking it. He deeply understands that to be the ultimate leader of an NFL team, you must first be the standard. You must become the example that every single other player, from the bottom of the roster to the top, must follow. And in just a few short months, he has completely redefined that professional standard in Cleveland. The resulting contrast between the two men could not be more stark or more painful. Dillon Gabriel is currently playing defense, desperately trying to hold on to his rapidly diminishing job, trying to survive the next series, the next quarter, the next game. Shedeur Sanders is on the unyielding offense, relentlessly preparing, strategically building powerful alliances, and flawlessly positioning himself for the guaranteed takeover. Gabriel is fighting a desperate battle of survival. Shedeur is engaged in a battle of destiny, and in the brutal world of the NFL, destiny almost always wins in the end. The locker room has already irrevocably sensed this truth. They are naturally gravitating toward the magnetic, unmissable pull of Shedeur's undeniable leadership, his high-profile pedigree, and his absolutely certain future. Dillon Gabriel is the quickly fading past. Shedeur Sanders is the vibrant, immediate future. And the present is a brutal, agonizing, and very public transition of power that the entire city is fixated on. The leadership vacuum and the owner's calculation. In any major organizational crisis or public upheaval, the natural instinct is to look to the highest leadership for stability. One expects a steady, commanding hand to calm the turbulent waters and expertly steer the ship through the storm. But in Cleveland, the men at the helm are not steering the ship at all. They are merely clinging to the wreckage as a tidal wave of controversy crashes completely over them. Head coach Kevin Stefanski is in a state of visible, full-blown panic mode, and his desperate, clumsy attempts to manage this crisis are only serving to make the entire situation catastrophically worse. worse. Meanwhile, the ultimate power broker, team owner Jimmy Haslam, is watching the proceedings from above, coolly calculating a vital business decision that has surprisingly little to do with the delicate art of football. Let's focus our critical lens on Kevin Stefanski. A head coach's primary, non-negotiable job is to lead the team, establish a clear direction, and, most importantly, eliminate all potential distractions. Yet, when confronted with the single biggest potential distraction of his entire season, a rapidly escalating, highly public quarterback controversy, Stefanski has done the precise opposite. He has publicly displayed weakness, profound indecision, and a complete, embarrassing inability to control the narrative that surrounds his team. When reporters aggressively pressed him on the quarterback depth chart, asking him directly and repeatedly if Shedeur Sanders was now the official QB2, Stefanski gave an answer so completely evasive, so transparently political, it was frankly laughable. He essentially claimed he simply did not know. Let that sink in completely. The head coach of a billion-dollar, meticulously planned NFL franchise, a man whose entire career depends on preparation and control, claims he genuinely does not know who his own backup quarterback is. This is not some clever strategic move to keep the competition guessing. This is a 5-alarm fire of organizational panic. It is the desperate, pathetic response of a coach who has entirely lost control of the situation and is utterly terrified of the inevitable public consequences of his own words. Why would he so cowardly dodge such a simple, basic question? Because he knows the unvarnished truth is a volatile landmine. The very second he officially names Shedeur Sanders as the undisputed QB2, he simultaneously legitimizes the entire movement. He validates the fans' overwhelming desire to see the rookie play. He pours a fresh, potent can of gasoline onto the fire that Tony Grossi ignited. By naming Shedeur the official backup, Stefanski is formally, publicly, and irrevocably putting Dillon Gabriel on the clock. The official countdown to the inevitable chance, the boos, and the unavoidable benching will begin in earnest. Consequently, Stefanski is attempting to play a deeply cowardly game. He is trying to pretend that the situation is simply not happening, desperately hoping the problem will magically vanish into thin air, but it will not. His non-answer was, in fact, the loudest answer he could have given. It told everyone, the players, the media, and the owner, that he knows Shedeur is the quarterback the players and the fans desperately want, and he is frantically attempting to delay the inevitable political uprising for as long as his threadbare leash allows. He is no longer managing a football quarterback room. He is trying to contain a massive powder keg with a flimsy lid made of tissue paper. His panic is utterly palpable, and it signals to the entire organization that there is a profound vacuum of decisive leadership at the very top. And in any organizational vacuum, power is always swiftly and decisively seized by someone else. Enter the true ultimate king of Cleveland, team owner Jimmy Haslam. While Stefanski is clumsily fumbling and tripping over press conference questions, Haslam is viewing this entire situation through a different, much colder lens. The lens of a shrewd, high-level businessman. The NFL is fundamentally an entertainment business. It is about the ability to sell tickets, sell merchandise, secure national television deals, and, most crucially, sell the intangible commodity of hope. And right now, who is the person selling the most hope in Cleveland? Is it Dillon Gabriel, the competent but ultimately uninspiring bridge quarterback who has already been branded a loser? Or is it Shedeur Sanders, the charismatic, magnetic son of a living legend, a walking, talking marketing machine who comes pre-packaged with a massive legion of fans and an undeniable superstar aura? The answer is brutally obvious and entirely financial. Shedeur Sanders does not just represent a potential future upgrade on the field. He represents a massive, undeniable business opportunity. His jersey would instantly become the #1 seller in the league. He would put the Browns franchise in the national spotlight, not just locally, but nationally, every single week of the season. Thanks to the inherent primetime effect, he brings an overwhelming level of excitement, intrigue, and raw star power that this franchise has not legitimately seen in decades. Haslam knows this truth implicitly. He is watching the social media engagement figures. He is listening to the national buzz. And he completely understands the massive financial windfall that comes with putting a player of Shedeur's unique caliber under center. So, while Stefanski is worried about X's and O's and the fragile, delicate balance of his locker room, Haslam is only focused on the bottom line. And what does that bottom line unequivocally tell him? It tells him that the fans are already chanting for Shedeur. It tells him that the team's best, most influential players like Myles Garrett are publicly endorsing Shedeur. It tells him that the powerful media is already constructing the unstoppable narrative for Shedeur's imminent takeover. This is no longer merely a decision about football strategy. It is a vital, high-stakes corporate decision. And in the unwavering world of corporate America, you always give the paying customers exactly what they want. The personal preferences of the head coach become completely secondary to the ultimate vision of the owner. And if Jimmy Haslam truly believes that Shedeur Sanders gives the Browns the absolute best chance to win games and sell merchandise, then it genuinely does not matter what Kevin Stefanski wants or believes. The final decision will be made for him. Stefanski's visible panic is the ultimate tell. He knows he is no longer in charge of this situation. The players have already made their decisive choice. The fans are moments away from making their choice loud and clear, and the owner is certainly listening to the sound of all that potential revenue. The fuse has been undeniably lit. The battle lines have been officially drawn. The narrative is now permanently set in stone. The Cleveland Browns franchise is hurtling uncontrollably towards a moment of absolute reckoning, and there is genuinely nothing anyone can do to stop the devastating impact. This is no longer a question of if a change will be forcibly made at the quarterback position. The only remaining questions are precisely when it will happen and how publicly ugly the fallout will inevitably be for Dillon Gabriel. The irreversible countdown to chaos has officially begun, and every single tick of the clock is a testament to the cold, hard fact that the Shedeur Sanders era is an absolute inevitability. The final showdown, Pittsburgh and the home inferno. Consider the truly perfect storm of political, psychological, and financial pressures that are currently converging upon this franchise. You have the single most trusted media insider in the city publicly labeling the starting quarterback a loser and predicting his imminent public demise. You have the team's most respected and vital leaders on both offense and defense openly stumping for the rookie backup, praising his relentless work ethic and speaking of his eventual playing time as an absolute certainty. You have a head coach who is visibly panicking, offering weak, utterly evasive answers that betray a man who has completely lost control of his own locker room and his destiny. And finally, you have a rookie quarterback with an untouchable superstar pedigree who is, by all credible accounts, doing absolutely everything right, outworking, outpreparing, and outleading the man he is destined to replace. This perfect storm is now barreling towards landfall. The Browns are heading into a brutal, divisional road game in Pittsburgh. This is one of the most hostile environments in the league, an absolute pressure cooker against a physical, dominant defense. This represents Dillon Gabriel's last stand. If he somehow manages to go in there and play flawlessly, leading the team to a decisive, unassailable victory, he might buy himself another week of professional life. He might temporarily mute the suffocating whispers. But what if he doesn't meet that impossible standard? What if he throws 2 critical interceptions? What if he fumbles the ball in a crucial defining moment? What if the offense looks shaky, overwhelmed, and completely disjointed? If any of those scenarios unfold, the calls for Shedeur will instantly become a deafening, uncontrollable roar that the organization can no longer, under any circumstances, ignore. But here's the single most terrifying detail for Gabriel. Even a miraculous win in Pittsburgh might ultimately not be enough, because the real day of judgment is not on the road. It is the following week, when the Browns finally return home. As Tony Grossi so accurately warned, there is an immense, powerful contingent of Shedeur Sanders fans lying in wait. They have already received their marching orders. They are waiting for the precise signal. The moment Dillon Gabriel throws his first incompletion, the first 3 and out, the first visible sign of struggle or doubt, the chance will begin. We want Shedeur! We want Shedeur! We want Shedeur! Imagine the psychological reality of that moment for Dillon Gabriel, standing on the field of your own stadium, wearing the home colors and hearing thousands of your own fans loudly, repeatedly, and aggressively calling for your immediate replacement. It is psychological warfare of the highest, most destructive order. It is a public shaming. It is the kind of crushing, all-encompassing pressure that is specifically designed to break even the strongest of professional minds. And it is coming. Everyone in the organization knows it is coming. The players know it, the coaches know it, and you better believe with absolute certainty that Dillon Gabriel knows it too. He is no longer just competing against the opposing team, he is now competing against the idea of Shedeur Sanders, an idea that has grown into a powerful, uncontrollable legend before the man has even played a meaningful down. This is why the quarterback switch is absolutely inevitable. The organization simply cannot continue to function effectively when it is so profoundly and publicly divided. The locker room has already made its ultimate choice. The fan base is moments away from making its choice loud and clear, and the owner, Jimmy Haslam, will soon be left with no other viable option but to make the exact franchise-defining move that every single person, from the star players to the media insiders, saw coming the very day they drafted Shedeur Sanders. They did not draft the son of prime time to have him simply hold a clipboard and wait patiently. They drafted him to be the undeniable face of the franchise, to be the unquestioned leader, and to be the ultimate immediate savior.